It's the science in pajamas, jamas, jamas. Alright, so today we're going to talk about another type of mutation called frameshift. Now, the reading frame of a gene is looking at how the bases are split up into the codons and how we read those codons in order to figure out the amino acid sequence. So a frame shift is when we can actually change the reading frame. Now here I have, let's say this is the original DNA, and if we take that and we transcribe it into mRNA, this would be the sequence from it. And that would lead to this amino acid change. So methionine, threonine, histidine, valine, leucine, serine, glycine, and stop. Now, with the frame shift, we also refer to these as deletion and insertion mutations because what happens is you insert or delete bases from the reading frame, from the DNA, and it's going to shift all the bases behind it. So, for instance, let's think about it in terms of maybe we have a deletion, and this C right there gets taken out. So that means that the new amino acid, the new mRNA is going to be AUG, AC. Well, we don't have that C, which means we don't have that G, so everything else is going to shift forward. So C, AUG, UGA, UGU, I'm sorry about that, UGU, UAA, GUG, I know my handwriting is getting bad, I apologize. So GUG, GGU, GGU, and GA. Now, as you can tell, since that caused everything to shift, that's going to affect a lot of our amino acids. So let's check out to see which amino acids are present or are now in here. AUG is still met. So methionine. If you're wondering how I know these, don't forget we have our handy dandy little mRNA decoding chart. So ACC is still threonine. Remember, we talked about this when we talked about point mutations, that there is some redundancy in these. So that didn't change that one, but now we have AUG again, which means we have another methionine. Then we have UGU. UGU is cysteine. Then UAA. Oh, we gotta stop. And since we reached the stop codon, that means we're not even going to translate the rest of those. You can't even translate that one anyways because you need 3 bases to make a codon, and 3 bases or a codon is what is used to figure out the amino acid. Can't do it with 2, can't do it with 1 base. You need 3. So not only are some of our base or our amino acids different, but we also end up with a shortened protein. That's going to have big effects because we've changed amino acids, we've changed the length, which means we're going to change how it forms into a 3D shape, and that's going to change the function of it. So that would be an example of a deletion. All right, so let's get rid of that. Back up. All right, well, what if maybe instead of a deletion there, in between the G and C, I am going to, why not? I'm not going to add between those two. I'm going to add between the T and the G. I'm going to add an A there. So now we have something a little extra. We still have the T there, which will be transcribed into an A, but now we have an A up here, an extra A. So I'm going to have to put a U here, and that's going to cause all the other bases to be shifted down, thus changing, once again, the reading frame. So G would be C, and then so we're at here now because we have that extra letter in between. We now have GCA, GCA, UGU, UGU, GUU, GUU, AAG, AAG, UGG, UGG, GUG, GUG, and then a lonely little A at the end. All right, well, let's see what kind of amino acid chain this one would make. So we still have met, so methionine. We have AUC, so AUC is isoleucine. GCA, GCA is alanine. UGU, UGU is cysteine. GUU is valine. AAG is lysine. UGG is tryptophan. GUG, valine again. And that lonely little A isn't going to code for anything. Remember, it takes a full codon to code for an amino acid. So right off the bat, it's different. I mean, we start off with our methionine, but then we are different from here on out. Yes, we have a valine, but it's not in the same place. Here, valine is the 4th amino acid. Here, it's the 5th one, so it's a change in position. We have different amino acids, which means that it's going to form a 3D shape differently. And without it having a stop codon, it might stop making things. After that, it might start reading itself backwards and adding more. So it can actually end up elongated, even more so. So this is what we mean by a frame shift, because we are adding or deleting bases, and that's causing everything behind it to shift, which means it's going to affect all the amino acids behind it. Let me give you a more practical example of this. Sometimes, when it gets to this, a lot of times kids are like, what? Let me give you a better example, a more practical one. I'm going to write a sentence using 3-letter words. Jim saw the dog and cat run. Jim saw the dog and cat run. It's a full sentence, and it makes sense. It makes complete sense to us. We can see that, be like, yeah, okay. So there's this Jim, he was looking, and there was a dog and a cat, and they were running, and he saw that. All right, it makes sense to us. But what if I add a letter right here? Maybe, why not a J? Well, that's going to be Jim, S, J. We have to include the new letter, A. Now remember, I'm doing this in 3-letter words, so that means everything else is going to get shifted down. W, T, H, E, D, O, G, A, N, So by adding one letter, it shifted all the letters down, changing every word behind it. This no longer makes sense. None of these are words except for Jim. I mean, you can argue true because if you have someone whose name is Trudy and they go by True, or you're just thinking about true without the E at the end, but none of these are actual words with the exception of Jim. So by adding one letter, it shifted everything else down, changing all of our three-letter words and resulting in complete different in this sentence. The same can be said if maybe instead of adding a J, maybe we got rid of the A. So now that means everything is going to be shifted forward because you can't have a blank space in your DNA. So SWT HEDOGANDCATRUN. Once again, by taking out one of the letters, it shifted all of the letters forward this time, and now we don't have a sentence that makes sense. So that's what we mean by frameshift mutations. I hope this did help you to understand them a little bit. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, hit me up in our Google Classroom or in my email. But in the meantime, stay healthy and stay safe, you guys. All right. Bye-bye.